So like she said, we're the Kellys. Well, we're some of the Kellys. We're missing two. I'm Brandy. My husband Dennis, he's retired Navy. So I find it interesting to have another Navy guy coming. And he got called in for a VA compensation disability appointment today. So that's where he's at. And you don't tell them no because they'll reschedule it like a year later. And Hope is the oldest daughter, so she's right here, and she is a student at UNT. That's how we ended up in the Denton area right now. And I'll let y'all introduce yourselves.
And then I'm next. I'm Caleb. I'm going off to college this fall, which is like 2 weeks away.
Oh,
Way
wow.
too close.
Yes.
I am 19.
I'm Sarah. I'm next. I'm 17.
I'll need to step this way. I don't know that you're in our video.
Yeah.
I'm Micah, I'm 15, and I'm Seth, I'm 15 as well.
All right. So, Incurious International is our ministry. We'll kind of get a little bit more into it. We kind of wanted to start with a little bit of some fun stuff. Audience participation. So, what is a missionary? What do you think of when you hear the word missionary? What's something that comes up?
Someone who goes out into the jungle and preaches the word, or anywhere really. That's not.
Okay. Yep. It's a good one. That's kind of our traditional idea of missionaries, right? Anybody else? Church. Mm-hmm. Okay.
We've done work like with 8 Days of Hope where they go and they rebuild stuff. So that's kind of changed my view of what a missionary is.
Mhm.
Because yes, I think typically it's the going out into the bush, into the jungle.
Right.
But doing 8 Days of Hope, that's also missionary work too. So
Going wherever God calls you and doing the work He's called you to serve.
Very good. Like it.
Presentation's over.
We're done. We're done. Caleb took care of it for us. So, what is missionary? The American Heritage Dictionary defines it as one who is sent on a mission, especially one sent to do religious or charitable work in a territory or foreign country. Second definition, a person who travels attempting to spread a religion or a creed. So pretty much hit those things that you were saying. This is kind of our standard definition, very traditional. And so this traditional thought, right? A grass hut. So this is a missionary. He is alive now. He's still serving in Belize, but this was what Mission Box had to say about him. With $50 in his pocket and a backpack filled with personal belongings, he arrived at a place near a remote village in the jungle. For several years, Wisnett lived in a hut made from branches and leaves. Having no electricity or running water, he washed in a nearby stream alongside, but not too close, to native alligators. His survival depended upon eating iguana and other assorted jungle delicacies. So this is kind of that traditional idea of missionaries, right? And there are still people that do it this way. But we're gonna get into a little bit, kind of shift your thinking a bit. So this is actually a video. This is Paul Wisnett, who is in Belize. And yeah, so it's a short little clip.
Hi, my name is Paul Wisnett. When I first came to this country, all I had was my backpack, the clothes on my back, my Bible, and one plan, and that was just simply to reach Belizeans who would reach Belize for Christ. I lived for many years out in the jungle in a grass hut with no electricity, no running water, taking my baths in the river, and discipling a small handful of pastors. It's now decades later, and it's really exciting to see what God is doing through your donations and these amazing pastors as together we reach Belize for Jesus.
There's one example of a missionary. So now, kind of on the other side, so here's another extreme, maybe a little satire thrown in. John Christ. Is everybody familiar with John Christ? Christian comedian. So,
okay.
Yeah. So watch this. Just keep in mind there's a little satire. We're going to talk about that after the video.
Hi guys, Quinn and Kylie here. We are so excited to announce our next trip.
It's a mission trip.
Our next mission trip, we are gonna serve humbly the scuba instructors here in Aruba.
We're so honored.
So honored. A lot of you guys have asked, why Aruba?
Yeah, we actually came here on our honeymoon.
Yeah,
And
we were out on the pier having the sunset dinner. I was about to pick up the lobster and dip it in the butter. We
So
just
good.
looked at each other. We just felt like God had called us
For such a time as this, we've had so many God
You
moments while
would
being
not
here.
believe.
The Cabana Boys.
Oh, the golf caddy.
Yeah, the parasail
I
guys.
had a heart-to-heart conversation with the guy I rent the jet skis
Oh,
from.
people want to hear about that.
So good. When moments like that, we just know that we're here for a purpose.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
we can relate to missionaries all over the world when we say it hasn't been without its share of persecution.
Yeah, like last week we were prepping to do this scuba dive,
Yes.
and I was wearing my cross necklace like I
Tell 'em-
always
Tell
do.
them what the instructor said to you.
And the instructor looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Ma'am, you need to take that necklace off."
Take it off.
And I said, "I will not. I will stand for what I believe in."
Get behind me, Satan.
Right, but come to find out, the necklace actually would block the airflow of the mask, so I had to take it off.
It makes it. He was helping you. But
Yeah.
at the time, we did feel
I felt attacked.
persecuted. Honestly, I feel like a lot of what we're doing down here, babe, is planting seeds. We
Yeah.
haven't seen much harvest, but we know that the Lord is at work.
It's kind of like we're a living version of Footprints in the Sand.
Except 2 sets of footprints have turned into 0. That's where we lay down to
Or
sunbathe.
sunbathing, yeah. Like the other day, I was shopping for some supporter gifts for all of you.
So good.
I was looking at these keychains made by real orphans, and I was about to have a moment with the cashier lady.
Cashier, and you were gonna witness to her.
I was going to witness to her, but we had dinner reservations.
Yeah, it was not the right time. But
Figure
you
out
know, it's
what's
timing. Wherever we go, in the shops, at the car dealership, we wear the WWJD bracelets.
I actually lost mine.
Anyway, we just want to ask that you would partner with us and invest with us here in Aruba long term.
Long term, but really for only 3 months, because after that it's rainy season and my hair gets frizzy, so.
Okay, we feel like maybe after the 3 months, God is maybe going to transition us out of
Don't
Aruba.
spoil it.
And we're going to be witnessing to the wine connoisseurs and vineyard owners of Tuscany.
But that's another video and another
Next
outfit.
stop, yeah,
I haven't
totally
even finished my
different.
Pinterest board.
We need to be here and now. I talked with our accountant. All we need is $10,000 a month.
Basically what we're saying is that we want to ask you for prayer.
Well, pray that God would ask you to give us your money.
Mhm.
It's so easy to give. We just ask if you think about us in prayer after you've given, just ask that we would daily pick up our cross.
Yeah. Oh, room service.
You know what I'm saying? Just, it's
No, I said extra caviar. No, fix that. Where's the Prosecco? What am I supposed to drink?
Cut this part.
No, get out.
So, kind of an extreme there, right? So what was wrong in that video?
Self-serving.
Yes, very self-serving. They could be inconvenienced, you know, oh, dinner reservations, I'll have to witness to her later. They're not really there to care for the people, you know, they're throwing trash out of the car. But that can be done well. There are chaplains at resorts. You know, there are things, you know, that was a little extreme, but it's funny. And so we enjoy that. So we're gonna challenge you to think out of the box. You know, we want to put jobs in a box. You know, if somebody tells you they're an engineer, you kind of have an idea of what they do. You know, we have these boxes that we kind of put these jobs into. And so missions is no different. You hear somebody's a missionary, you kind of have an idea, at least in your head, of what you think they do. And so we're going to challenge you to kind of think a different way today. So a little bit about us now. One of y'all want to take that? Kind of how we got started? Anybody?
I was 7, I don't really remember.
Okay, so that's true. My husband was a chaplain in the Navy, and he retired in 2016 because we felt like God was calling us to work with missionaries. We had had a couple of instances where we had spent some time with missionaries and just felt that God was calling us to work with them and provide pastoral care to missionaries. And so our name of our ministry is Incurios International. And Kyrios is a word we made up from 2 Greek words. Ankyra is so anchor, and then Kyrios is Lord. So anchored in the Lord. And we've been told we're a little out of the box. And so what we do, so our mission to encourage and equip missionaries, pastors, cross-cultural workers, and their families around the world through pastoral care, discipleship, coaching, refreshment, relief, and other support in order to help workers be successful and minimize attrition. And so we come alongside them in the field. We go to them, that helps us to see what their needs are, and then we can align our resources with what they need. Sometimes it's debriefing. We talk them through the events of the last year. We do coaching, counseling, mentoring. My background is in education, and so I a lot of times help parents. They're either homeschooling or making decisions on whether or not they're going to put their kids in a boarding school or a local school, which means is their child ready to learn in a different language. So some things like that I help parents decide on. And so that doesn't sound so out of the box, right? Not yet. But there's more. We do all of this from our sailboat. So we bought the sailboat in 2014. Thought we would live on it for a couple of years while my husband was finishing up in the Navy. We couldn't get into base housing. The sailboat was kind of this like dream, and we're like, why not now? And that's a really fun God story on how that all worked out too. But this is our boat. This is Ian Curios is her name. And so she's a catamaran, 38 feet long. She's 4 cabins, 2 heads, so that's the bathrooms. About 400 square feet for the 7 of us.
Oh,
And it felt a lot bigger when we first moved aboard, and these guys were 5. And so now everybody's bigger than I am, and it gets cozier, but we're slowly losing a kid at a time. So it's starting to get bigger again. So the sailboat makes us a little out of the box. So why did we decide to do member care from a sailboat? This is our favorite anchorage of all times. They don't all look like this. This is just our favorite. And I think you can see why it would be our favorite. So our sailboat allows us to meet missionaries where they are. We bring our own home. That way we're not causing burdens. We're not showing up and saying, hey, do you have a place to put us up? Where can we stay? We need you to feed us. We just come in to provide care. And then the slow pace of the sailboat. So when we leave one missionary and then we sail to the next place, which could be, a couple of days to a couple of weeks, depending on weather and things like that, it gives us a chance for that downtime and the self-care that we're trying to model to missionaries and that we need. It's sometimes missionaries are facing some pretty heavy things, and so we come alongside them and help them walk through those, and then we need that time to just decompress and be ready to help the next people. So these in between, these occasional anchorages, and this is our boat right here, are what we need just as a family to relax and be ready to go again. All right. So we always get lots of questions about the boat, and so we've got some slides to show y'all a little bit more about it.
I'll go right here so I can control it. But this is the floor plan. I don't know what much to say about it other than it's small. And then the middle is our living room, kitchen, schoolroom, dining room,
Movie room.
An extra bedroom.
And yes,
As
the
needed.
table lays down and we can turn that into another bed.
So it's our everything room, bedrooms. The entire cabin is the bed with like this much floor. Do we have a picture of that?
We do.
A
We will.
little bit.
In a little bit, but this is our cockpit. Up there is the helm where we steer the boat. We stay out here most of the time when we're sailing because we need fresh air to not get seasick, even though we've been on the boat 9, 10 years. 10 years. This is where you can see the everything room. That table goes down. All of our appliances.
I don't know that I do this one. So go ahead. You can point
I
that
was
out.
going to say, so you can't really see it right here, but this metal handle and this door, that's the refrigerator. It goes all the way to that back wall. So it's just this big cube. You just reach back all the way at arm's length, fit as much as you can, and then we have a freezer down here. So that's where all of our cold stuff goes.
So it's slightly bigger than like a dorm fridge.
So do y'all have a stove as well, or an oven?
Yes,
I do.
there
I
is a
think that's
picture
in
of
the
the
next
stove.
picture.
Right
Yeah.
there.
Ah, okay.
Are
And
you
an oven.
running
3-burner
off
stove.
of a generator?
So we are fully solar and wind generator, and then we have batteries, and that's so completely off grid.
But the
We
stove
do,
and oven runs off
yes,
propane.
propane.
Two propane bottles actually under the seats back in the cockpit.
Wow.
Everything has a compartment.
yes.
No wasted space on this.
And the oven fits, it won't hold a 9 by 13 pan, so not quite, like it's close, and so we have to, step down a little bit. So that gives you an idea on the size. So we've become very creative in how we cook things. One of our favorite things, we don't have it in this, it's called a solar oven. It's just a big black box with like a clear lid, and you put black pots in it, and we put it out on the deck, and the sun cooks our food, and it's everyone's.
Makes the best chicken.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yes. It's pretty good.
Here are the bedrooms. So these are forward cabins. That one was Caleb's room. It's a little small because the previous owner did modifications.
So all those boxes.
That
And the side, because the bed should go all the way up underneath that shelf, but it's cut off there. A little bit smaller.
And then the front beds are double size,
They're double, and then they taper down to a twin.
and then the ones in the back are full queens.
Yes.
So, what college are you going to in the fall?
Missouri. I'm going to Southeast Missouri.
Okay, so you'll definitely be living there, right? So are you excited about having more space to
It's
sleep?
debatable if I'll have more space.
Oh.
Well, in the beds are they're twins
That's
in the door,
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I will be sharing with someone else.
Okay.
I actually had my own room for all the 10 years because there are 7 of us in the family, so 2, and then there's
So
one
who
left
gets to
over.
move into his room?
He's gonna live in there.
I like that. Okay.
But
Are
he
you
still gets his
excited?
own room.
I still get my own room. So it doesn't matter.
He doesn't have to go anywhere.
I don't have to move my stuff. And then here's the bathroom. This is from above.
Yeah.
So it's a weird perspective.
Yeah.
So the shower's behind the shower curtain then?
No, the shower, that is it. You're looking at the whole thing. The shower curtain is just against the wall.
Wow.
And then we slide it out, and so it's what they call a wet head. And so,
Oh, so the toilet's in the,
Everything's
inside
toilet.
the shower.
yes. So that drain that you're looking at right there is, that's the shower space that you stand in. And at first I was kind of annoyed because it's small, you can barely move, it's hard to wash your hair. But the first time I took a shower while we were sailing, and you're doing this number, was really glad the walls were closed. So kind of had you could brace yourself.
What do you do for like clothing and?
We have very small closets. I don't think you could see it in that picture.
No.
No, it's like right here.
Yeah, that the
base-
door.
The
Well,
base,
so
oh, yeah.
these are the hanging closets here.
Yes.
There are 2 doors here.
And then
for
the
hanging.
base of the bed
And then-
has some storage space that I
Okay.
usually put.
Yes, and there are 2 compartments underneath the beds as well. So there's a space at the foot of the bed that you can reach. And that's where you put clothes, hang the clothes in the closet, and then compartments here and here.
Under the bed, which is that storage stuff of things that we don't need often. So like duffel bags and camping stuff and extra books underneath Sarah's bed are bins of books.
Yeah, for
Books.
homeschooling.
So
So you'll definitely have to be kind of minimalist
Yes.
to a degree, right?
very much so.
Speaking of homeschooling,
Oh, that's cool.
this is what we call boat schooling.
Yeah, we're so little.
Yes.
At this-
Yes,
at
I
this-
know. This picture is from so long ago.
2020. Was it?
No, it had to have been earlier.
No, I think it was before then,
Okay.
yeah.
Y'all look
I
so
have that
little.
We managed to fit everybody's books at the table, which we can't do anymore.
Yeah, now it's like maybe 3 at a time at the table. So
Maybe.
great.
So do some of y'all do it outside then, while the others are inside?
Sometimes we just wait until the other is done.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or
'cause Seth and Micah share a math book anyway, so they can only do it.
Right.
Very true.
or wherever you can find space.
Right.
Homeschooling.
Our science class is the coolest.
Oh, yeah.
No, this is just.
Yeah, it's just a picture. So we do, we have done some extensive marine biology studies because we can. And so dolphins they used to be almost an everyday sighting, and now this last year we saw dolphins like maybe 4 or 5 times.
Oh.
So yeah, it was interesting. We're not really sure what's going on with that. But yeah, the dolphins are fun. Sarah is our marine biologist, and that's what she wants to do. And so she keeps track of all of our research journals and sightings, and so she's well on her way to becoming that.
So where do y'all sell to, like where, or are y'all gonna get to that?
We will get there.
Okay,
We will get
gotcha.
there. Yes.
I don't really know much to say about this because
Our
it's not
both
me,
school
but-
graduates. So there's Hope when she graduated high school, and then Caleb this spring. So that's nice. Yes.
Very similar. I just realized they look very similar places.
They're not.
They're not.
They're
They're
not at
very
all.
far apart.
They're probably about 400 miles apart are those two pictures. But very fun.
Here you go.
There we go.
All right.
okay.
Sarah, would you point them out if you want to talk about it?
So
we started up in San Diego, that one dot up there. This is,
Turtle Bay.
Yes.
okay, yeah. So Turtle Bay, another place we stopped on the way down. So we initially just made our way down.
Very-
Kind of stopped here for a year, like in this area. We went all the way up to put the boat away for hurricane season. And then we eventually went all the way down to here.
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. And I think all the yellow dots are places with missionaries.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So we did stop other places along
Yeah.
the way, but the yellow dots are with missionaries. And there's a couple of inland ones. The one under the M in Mexico is Guadalajara. So we put the boat away and we flew into Guadalajara, and then yes, so Honduras, and then Guatemala. We also went in. So we were headed down to go to the Panama Canal in February of 2020. And everything got shut down, so we sat in Costa Rica until our visas were about to expire, and turned around and went back to Mexico. So we sailed all the way from Costa Rica straight back to southern Mexico because all of the countries had locked down, and so there was no stopping anywhere. And we actually had to get special permission from the port captain in southern Mexico to let us in. And so that COVID was a fun time.
So did y'all stay in Mexico then for that year or two,
We
whatever?
did. So we finally came back. I think we came back to the States in July that year. So we just kind of hung out in very deserted places while we waited.
We haven't actually been south past
Again.
Mexico since then.
Right.
We've talked about it. We were going to go through the Panama Canal either this last season, and we're still thinking about it for the next season. But we just stuck to Mexico because we have some good missionary contacts there, and they have some transitions. Other missionaries have been leaving the field, and so we've been focusing on our close friends all around Mexico.
It's turned out really well because now that we have a great group that we're connected with, and that they know we're going to be coming at least once a year, and so it gives those yearly connections and updates, and we stay in touch with them online throughout the year, and then they know at least at some point we're going to be there, and so that's been really good for them as well as for us. Gives us a little consistency.
We've also served with other missionaries that are not on this map because they're in Europe. We didn't take the boat there, but that was just through flights that we took. So like some places like Switzerland, Ireland, Scotland, Spain.
And then we have other missionaries in different places that we tend to work with when they're on home on furlough and we're back in the States. And so a lot of missionaries in different countries in Africa and
Georgia.
Yes,
The country.
Georgia, the country Georgia, as well as China and the Philippines, and a couple others from Asia. So
How far, do you have enough, like, I don't know the mileage from San Diego all the way down to Costa Rica?
not exactly. It's 800 miles from San Diego to the tip of Baja California. So
something around 2,500
So
miles.
2,500, 3,000,
Like 2,400.
somewhere in there.
Give or take.
That's quite a far distance.
In 10 years, we are, I think we're at like 12,000 miles that we've traveled.
Oh, wow.
So, and a lot of it's back and forth.
And
Put this into perspective. We only go 5 miles an hour.
So does the boat have any trouble getting across because like do you need to constantly refuel it, or is it like the generator that keeps it working all that time?
So we sail as much as we can, and then we do have 2 engines. So being a catamaran, it has 2. They're only 27 horsepower each, so that's why we don't go fast. We'll actually sail faster than we can motor,
Wow.
depending on the wind, of course. And so we usually do. We have fuel cans that we carry on deck for extra fuel, and we try not to use them because of course that's more expensive than sailing. Sailing's free. So
That's an excruciating amount of time
Yes.
to get from one place from another.
it is very slow.
Have you ever been caught in the middle of a storm?
We have been in a few decent storms.
What is that like?
We referenced day 2. When we left San Diego, we actually left with a rally of about 200 other sailboats, and we all were sailing south together. And so that was kind of our first, we had sailed around San Diego Bay, we'd done a little bit out in the ocean, but not much because Dennis was still in the Navy, and then we left on this rally with all these boats. And day 2, they said, was the worst weather they've ever experienced in 28 years.
Oh.
And so we had, I think it was around about 50 knots of wind and 15-foot waves. And so if you remember how you measure waves, it's from the middle, like it's not, it's not crest to trough. It's the middle to the crest and the middle to the trough. And so that was, coming up behind us, and we're looking at a 30-foot wave.
Wow.
And there were multiple times that I was like, we're going to die.
Yeah.
I don't know why God brought us out here. We obviously heard him wrong. We need to turn around. And so great story around that, but we did survive, obviously. And and we ended up going back towards shore, found a place to anchor, and the next morning we were ready to go again. And but it was pretty stressful. And then the other storms we've hit have been down more Central America, so Guatemala, El Salvador, Costa Rica. There were some pretty intense.
bad winds there.
Yes, so that's the Gulf of Tehuantepec, and that's actually where any hurricanes that form on the Pacific side, that's where they spin up. And so there's a lot of wind that funnels across, and by the time it comes from the Gulf of Mexico, funnels across, it's pretty intense, and the thunderstorms and things. And so we've had some doozies, and yeah, those are the nights that and it's always at night, always at night. 2 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden the rain starts and the thunder and the lightning, and we actually have radar on the boat, and so we can kind of, okay, where is it? Let's try to get around it. And there was one time where we were smack in the middle, and it was just all around. We were like, well, there's nowhere out, and so we just go through. It's those aren't the fun times, right? We say there's pros and cons, and those are definitely the cons. Anything else on that? No. Okay. So some of the ministries that we've gotten to work with, and we included a lot of these because they're also what we would call out of the box. So this is a Transformados, and they do youth sports, basketball, and so they have summer camps, and they actually have basketball leagues, and they play games against other basketball teams in Mexico. And these have become the missionaries that run this have become some of our really close friends. And the kids, actually one of them is flying in tomorrow, so we're pretty excited about that. He's going to spend the weekend with us. Next one. So this is Guadalajara. So it's a retired couple, and they're from Texas. They're from Abilene, and they are now missionaries there, and they have a house church, and just in their neighborhood. So they're, what you would call standard middle class, and they're reaching out to their neighbors. And one of the couples that helps them run that is he owns a bike shop, and so he brings bikes in. And when we were visiting, we all got to go bike riding, because Guadalajara shuts down a whole lot of their streets on Sundays, so people can just ride bikes. And so that was really fun. Beach Church. So this was when we were down in Costa Rica. They are just outside of a national park in Costa Rica on the beach, and they provide a bilingual church service every Sunday morning. So they get a lot of tourists that come in. That they're there for the national park, and it's super fun. You get howler monkeys above your head, and it's pretty exciting. That was one of our favorites. Sorry. No, you're good. And so then we also do things like we mentor local churches. This has definitely challenged our Spanish. And so Dennis works a lot with the pastors, and so we help out. And this is one pastor, he was in Nicaragua when we were there and a few years ago. He actually passed away a few years ago, so it's been pretty sad, but which I always like to include him in our slides because we loved had a great time with him. He was amazing in that he would preach in Spanish and English, so he translated for himself.
That's cool.
And yeah, I don't know how he kept up with it, but he did great. And so Dennis preached a few times while we were there, and he translated for Dennis. And so the other thing we also do, of course, is missionary R&R. We take missionaries out on the boat, so we convince them that they need to take a day off, take a break, take care of themselves. And so this was a family that we took out, and then this was one of the other missionaries in these boats were in La Paz, and we had a hard time convincing her to go, and then when she finally went, like, she just smiled all day long. She sat at the helm, drove the boat, like so we had a good time with that. So we usually try to take missionaries out and give them a chance to unwind. But we also do things like community work, so manual labor. We were helping build a school in El Salvador. This was on a tiny little island in the middle of the estuary, and unfortunately they were building a wall around the school because people were starting to encroach on the land of the school, and if they moved on, they were like, it's mine now. And so we were helping them build a wall to protect the school. And then evangelism to other boaters. There's actually a pretty large community, and it's gotten bigger since Starlink came out, because now boaters can work remotely, and so live on a boat and get to be done in Mexico and still do their work. And so we will do worship services in marinas or anchorages and just be present with the other boaters that are there. And we always do an Easter sunrise service. So this was a couple of years ago, and we've always done it on our boat. And so I think that day we had 20-ish people up on the bow of the boat. It was actually tipped down. It was kind of funny. And then this year we partnered with a local church and did Easter sunrise service on the beach. And so they did it in a bilingual. And this is Dennis actually praying with the worship leader and the translator. And then you can see the service. We actually had over 70 people this year, so it was pretty exciting. And then the other thing we do, this has kind of become my passion in previous years, is investing in third culture kids. And so, are y'all familiar with that term? So a third culture kid is a child who has grown up for a lot of their developmental years outside their passport country. And so it's kind of this blend of, they have their passport country, they have this host country of where they're living, and it's that unique blend of the two. And so they're this unique third culture that doesn't really fit with a lot of people. And so they kind of have a lot of there's a lot of positive things about it, but then a lot of challenges as well. And so especially for a lot of these kids that come back to the United States, and if they've never lived in the United States or they don't remember living in the United States, it's a bit of a culture shock. And so that's one of the things that I started noticing in our kids and in other missionary kids. And so I've done some training and certifications in that. And so this is, the bottom picture is on our boat. The 3 missionary kids that we took sailing with us for a week and had a blast. And this one right here in the black shirt with the glasses in the very front, he's flying in tomorrow. And he's probably Kayla's best friend, I would say. And so we're holding a retreat this weekend for third culture kids for re-entry. So all of these kids that are coming in for the retreat are all between like 18 and 20. And many of them are coming back to the United States for the first time. Some of them have been back a couple of years but are getting ready to transition to jobs or college. And so it's just a weekend that we're going to kind of process through some of that. And so Micah Eager is flying in for that. And yeah, I think that's it. So now this is them.
So several years back, it was about 2018, so we had just started the ministry a year before. We left, we were in Mexico, And the 4 or 5 of us, with our older sister, we knew we were in an opportune moment, but we didn't know what to do with this chance. And like the boating community, there were actually a lot of boat kids. We met some we had the missionary kids that we met, and there were the boat kids, and we felt like they were isolated from the regular social interactions that they're accustomed to in public school and youth group and things like that. They didn't have those options in Mexico. So we thought it would be it was a good opportunity for us to provide that for them. So whenever possible, we would meet up with the missionary kids. We were already doing that, but the boat kids, we made an effort to come out to them and invite them to come join us, and we just played tag. We went and played hide and seek. We did it deliberately. We brought them all in, and that has since evolved because we had all the boat kids in one place, but we all went. Some went south, some went north, some went across the Pacific, and we all spread out a little bit. But we made an effort to stay connected with them digitally. So we have currently an email group that we send emails to each other, we respond, and later we are going to work on a more online face-to-face interaction through Zoom or FaceTime, something like that. And when we do meet up with missionaries, this was a group that we met. We were in Alabama, but they were from Africa. There's a group that we go in for a missions conference. And this was my parents' old church from several years back.
This is actually where I went to church in college. So they do this amazing missions festival every year. So we try to attend. And this year, actually, we're supposed to be leading kind of a side conference for the TCK kids. So that'll be fun.
So we met them in person, but they're in Africa right now, and we're still here.
It's actually 2 families.
2 families, yes. Are the Scarborough there as well?
Yes.
Yes. So the people from Georgia. The Georgia. So these 2 are Georgia. These 3, and then we're mixed in there. But there are 3 families. So us, the Georgia missionaries, and the Africa missionaries.
They're in Rwanda now.
Rwanda. They work with Bible translation. And with the boat kid community, that's a great picture. I'm in the middle of.
I know. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. But in the boat kid community, we definitely try to take leadership position. This was an event that we hosted this last spring. We made short films with all the boat kids. So I was leading a class on how to take all your videos and put them together. And it's just, that's not a very missionary or Christian-esque thing to do, but it was the leading by example. I was taking time to help them do something that was fun, and I really enjoyed it. I loved watching all the videos that people put together. And that's what we try to do in these non-Christian settings, where we take the part where we act as Christians, we act as we ought to, and we lead by example. And that also includes caring for the environment. Every week they do beach cleanups. They walk up and down the beach collecting trash, and we do our best to take part in every single one. And then this is again just working with missionary kids and just being their social interaction. The picture on the left is in Guadalajara with the bike ministry. We were at the other missionary's house, and they had a Bible study, and one of the kids came, and alone he would just be bored. But we did our part. We played Jenga. It was awesome.
Yep.
I think
and he spoke decent English,
He did.
and they all speak pretty good Spanish, but it was a fun Spanglish interaction.
And then the picture on the right is from the missionary kids that we had on the boat for the week.
We took them out hiking.
Yeah. That's at the same place, our favorite anchorage.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
favorite anchorage.
We go there a lot.
Yes. All right, I'm gonna step back up here so I can see my notes. So if you feel like God is calling you into missions, we kind of broke this down into 3 simple steps to become a missionary. So the first one is start small. So you're not just suddenly going to get on a plane on your way to Africa and suddenly want to share the gospel or do a whole bunch of work if you're not doing it here at home now. And so we recommend you volunteer at your church. You be involved. If you love little kids, volunteer to serve in the nursery on Sunday mornings. I know for a fact that First Denton is always looking for people on Sunday mornings. Volunteer in your community. Find some places. And as Caleb was saying, it doesn't have to be a specific Christian thing that you're doing. Just getting out there and volunteering and serving. So start small. The next one, find where your comfort zone is and take a big step out. And so if you've already started small, you're getting, you know what it feels like to volunteer and to serve. And now you're, okay, this is comfortable, I've enjoyed this. Right now you're finding that where that comfort zone ends. And so big step out. And this might look like working at a summer camp. Caleb worked at Camp Compass this summer as a lifeguard. And that was, I'm not gonna say that was a giant step, but it was a decent step because this was him living on site at Camp Compass and doing some things that maybe he didn't necessarily want to do, like cleaning dorms and some, but it was, so that was that step outside of his comfort zone. Or take a short-term mission trip. Go somewhere and do those things. So First Denton Youth just went to Puerto Rico, and they were building, doing some construction on houses and things. And so hard work. It's hot. It's sweaty. It's so some of those things are outside your comfort zone. Or find a summer internship. I know a lot of the missionaries we work with, they have students, usually like college-age students. They want you to be 18 to come in and intern with them for the summer. And so it's a great opportunity to kind of see what that looks like. If you think God is calling you into missions, find one of those that maybe aligns with your passions, and then step out and give it a try. And then third step, clarify your calling. So if you've stepped out and you've done some of these things, and then maybe sit down with your pastor or a mentor and find a missions organization that matches what your vision and you feel like your calling is, and kind of talk through that with that trusted adult to be able to see where you might fit, where you think God wants to use you.
And I do want to add, it may be that you have a passion for something that doesn't currently exist. We wanted to do the missionaries to missionaries support, but that's not a widespread, there's not an organization that focuses just on that. Some have that built into their programs, but there wasn't something for us to join. So we ended up creating our own organization so we could focus on that. But
and that was actually after a few years. So
yes.
It may be that you start where you are and what is there. And so we were actually initially sent by our church from San Diego, where we were stationed in the Navy. And we said, well, we think God wants us to do this for about 3 to 5 years. Well, we hit like the 6-year mark, and we were still doing this. And then we had a lot of people that just encouraged us to start our own nonprofit. And so now we're an official nonprofit. We have a board that understands our vision and is great at being a sounding board and telling us, I think that's great. Why don't you try it this way instead? Or and that's been really good. So it was a matter of, we started with what we had, and as we've continued on, and God has just opened more and more doors, and so it's been pretty exciting.
Don't let your expectations for your ministry get in the way of what God has planned. He will work, however, and He already has it planned. But if you want to wait for the perfect opportunity, when you say, I will go if I can find the right organization, you're getting in the way. If you feel you're called, you are called to go now.
So these are some of the ministries that, and we've just got a couple of collage slides here. God can use your passions. Missions is not in a box anymore. God is going to use what you're passionate about to share the gospel with those near or far. Like, it doesn't also mean that you have to go to the other side of the world. We have friends that are church planners in Vermont. We have a friend that is working with kids that have aged out of foster care in Kansas. And so there are a lot of ministries that you can do right here in the States, right here in Texas, or, you know, if you have a passion, like Paul at the beginning, the first video, for Belize, you know, that's where he went because it says he had a passion for those people. And so God can use all of those things, and it can be anywhere. And so some of these, we've got building projects. So the top left corner, this is El Salvador, and they build houses. They also have, this is a diner that they have down there. They call it States Diner. It's a 1950s style diner in El Salvador. And he works with, again, foster care graduates in El Salvador. He trains them at how to be cooks, and they work in his States Diner. They get experience, they get paid, and then they can move on to other jobs. This is Beach Church again, basketball, military chaplaincy. So there's my husband right there. The Vision is a kids summer camp. It's kind of similar to Camp Copus. Let's see what's on the next one. All right, so Bible translation, the two up at the top. Medical missions. This is another one. This is Costa Rica, and they also do member care, just like we do, pastoral care to missionaries. And so they had a group come and stay and help them just spruce up their property. The missionaries come and stay there. Water filtration is another one, providing clean water. This is another unique one, mission-driven research. They're an engineering firm in Huntsville, Alabama. They actually do a lot of aerospace, and but they have a side nonprofit that they support that is missions, and so it's a great way. Like, okay, I want to be an engineer. Well, you can be an engineer and still serve God. And this one. So I don't have a picture of it up here. I thought I did, but Operation Christmas Child. Like, we've gotten to be on the other side of that, which was so exciting. We had been packing boxes since these kids were all tiny, and one time we just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and we got to help translate a lot of those letters, and it was just a really great time. So camp retreat centers like Camp Copus. We also have missionary friends that they do a kayak ministry and a paddleboard ministry. And so they focus on teaching the local people how to care for the environment. They talk about creation and that God created all this and we need to care for it. And they take them kayaking, paddleboarding, and show them God's creation. And then they have, this is also the same one. This is they call it the patio. They have this huge patio off their house, and they do church on Saturday nights. And so a lot of the people that they took kayaking are now part of their church. And then coffee shop. So these are more business as missions, and these a lot of times happen in like the 1040 window. And so those areas of the world where you can't be a Christian. And so like we have some friends that they have a soap business, and that's how they talk to, I believe she said they talked to them about being clean, like using soap to be clean, and that Jesus can wash away your sins. And so that's kind of their step in. So yeah, so lots of different great ways that God can use your passions to spread the gospel. And that's our last one. So questions for us? We answered some along the way.
Yeah. What, I guess so I kind of answered this one, but what inspired y'all to like be missionaries? What was the thing that like made y'all missionaries?
So briefly, so when Dennis was overseas, his last assignment was with the Navy SEALs. And so he felt like the Navy SEALs are a really tight group, and they really don't let outsiders in. And so he found, though, that if he could disciple the already believers and then teach them to disciple the other Navy SEALs. And so that was kind of one way he found, well, if I help them, then that's the way in. And also he was working with the younger chaplains at the time. You know, he was, one time he said, who does the chaplain go to when the chaplain needs a chaplain? And so, you know, he's the senior ranking chaplain, and so then he started working with the younger, more junior chaplains. Well, during that same deployment that all that was going on for him, we traveled to Europe. Military allows you to do space available flights. Lots of rules and restrictions around it, but we found our way to Rota, Spain, and we had a friend that put us in touch with some friends, and so we land at the airport, and there's a guy standing there, and he's like, "Are you the Kellys?" We had no idea who this guy is, but he's a friend of friends, and so we stayed with them for a few weeks, and they were Cadence International Missionaries, and so they are a hospitality ministry to military, usually at overseas bases. And so we stayed with them for a couple of weeks, and we just kind of wanted to earn our keep, right? And so we were really helping them out, and it was over like Halloween, and so they did like a fall festival, and we helped them run that. We washed a lot of dishes, helped cook meals, just all the things that were part of their ministry. But they had 4 kids the same age as ours. And at one point, the mom and I were talking about homeschooling, and our oldest girls are about to turn 13, and she says to me, "I can't tell you how nice it is to just be able to sit and chat and share challenges and talk about things, and I'm not worried. Like, I'm not trying to be on my best behavior. I'm not trying to make sure my kids are on their best behavior. I'm not trying to only say the good things." And because, you know, you find missionaries come back and they tell you all these great stories that, you know what, I mean, yes, those are great stories, but that's not 100% of the way it goes. Like, there's hard stuff. And so she's like, "I love that I can just talk to you, and I'm not worried that somebody's gonna pull me off the field because our 13-year-old is, you know, acting out or whatever." And that just really left an impression on me that, you know, missionaries really need somebody to come alongside, and even if it's nothing more than just Christian fellowship. And so that was my calling. While Dennis was having his calling and he came back from deployment, we started talking about things, and we were like, okay, let's do this. So he put in his letter for retirement, and once that was official, we left on the boat, went to Mexico, kind of like, okay, God, just show us where to go. We're being obedient, we don't know, and led us to some missionaries, and then they led us to another one, and it really became word of mouth. But now most people, at least within a couple of different organizations in Mexico and Central America, have heard of the Kellys, and so it's a good open door for us.
But the boat piece of the ministry was not something we had planned. We didn't buy the boat with the intention of using it for ministry. That was all God. We had the boat, and we wanted to do support for missionaries, and the two meshed together perfectly, and that's how we ended up in Mexico.
And then even like evangelism to boaters, like that wasn't part of it. We're like, no, we're here to minister to missionaries. And then we kind of realized that while we were going piece, you know, God doesn't expect us to just do this. You know, what about all these things along our way? And so the evangelism to other boaters, and we're not like outspoken about it, but we do have a lot of people that are like, oh, you're the missionary family. Or we had one family that was like, y'all are just different, and I don't quite know why. And then it was like, well, we can tell you. And so just great interactions like that. We don't know what the future looks like as kids keep leaving and our crew keeps disappearing. We all love the boat. I mean, as military, we moved every 2 to 3 years, and now we've lived on the boat for 10. And so the boat is home. Like, it's really the only home that we claim, I guess. And so the idea of selling it is like really, really hard. But then we're just praying that God makes it clear. Like, does He want us to keep doing this? Does He want us to go through the Panama Canal this year? Do we? We've talked for a long time about having a property where we can have like some small houses or cabins that missionaries, when they come back on furlough, have a place to stay. We can do debriefings with them, things like that. So that's, you know, it's one of the things we're praying about right now. We're just going to continue doing what we're doing until God tells us something else. This has always been our philosophy. This QR code takes you to our website in case you're interested, but we also have some cards back there that has our information on it. We have some stickers that we brought and then Seth started his Oasis lip balm a couple of years ago, and so the proceeds from any sales on that go towards the ministry as well. So those are back there. The stickers are 50 cents and the lip balm is $5, right? Yes. And it's all organic, right?
All natural.
All
I
natural?
cannot claim organic.
Oh, is it one of the?
You need to be certified.
So, oh, yeah, he's not certified. Yeah, any other questions? Anything else to add, anybody?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was super interesting.
Awesome.